the Gatha number 11 and 12. The Gatha goes like this. Asare saramatino sare che saradasino te sarang nadi gachanti micha sankappa gocharam. Then second one is sarancha sarato nyatwa asarancha asarato te sarang adigachanti samma sankappa gochara, which means they take untruth for truth, they take truth for untruth. Such person can never arrive at the truth, for they hold wrong views. And the second Gatha, they take truth for truth, they take untruth for untruth. Such person arrive at the truth, for they hold a right view. So this story was about the Sariputta. The Sariputta, as the Venerable Sariputta was residing in Veluvana Vihara, in Bamboo Groves Monastery in Rajagaha. And it happened that the Buddha uttered these two stanzas in relation to that. The Venerable Sariputta and the Kolita were friends in their lay life, and also known as Upatisha and Kolita. So they were both friends, and they came from the village called Upatisha and Kolia, nearby villages nearby in Rajagaha. So one day, while looking at a show, they realized the insubstantiality of things, and they decided to search for the way to liberation. First, they approached Sanjaya, the wandering ascetic at the Rajagaha, but they were not satisfied with his teachings. So they went all over the Jambudvipa and came back to their native place after searching for, but not finding the true Dhamma. At this point, they came to an understanding that one who found the true Dhamma should inform the one another. So that was the agreement between two, the Sariputta and Moggallana. After they have found that they couldn't find anything which is more substantial. So it happened that one day Upatisha came across with the Thera Assaji, who was the junior monk among the five first disciples of the Buddha, who was the very junior, and he was on arms around after his enlightenment. So Venerable Assaji was walking very calmly and serenely, begging for food. And Venerable Sariputta, at that time he was still the Upatisha, approached and learned from him the Dhamma. And the Venerable Assaji uttered the verse beginning with so-called Ye Dhamma Hetu Pabhava Tesang Hetung Tathakato, meaning that those phenomena which proceed from a cause, listening to the verses, those causes are the result of arising of things. This is the teachings of the Buddha. And this is also the very important teachings that Asaji summarized the entire Buddha's teachings in these two verses. And listening to the verse, Upatisha became established in Sotapatti Magga and Phala. Then, as promised, he went to his friend Kolita, explained to him that he, Upatisha, had attained the state of deathlessness, and repeated the verse to his friend Kolita. And Kolita also became established in Sotapatipala, and at the end of the verse, they both remembered their formal teacher and so went to Sanjaya and said to him, "We have found one who could point out the path to deathless, the Buddha." So the Buddha has appeared in the world, the Dhamma has appeared in the world, the Sangha has appeared in the world. Dear Master, come, let us go to the teacher. Let us go to the great teacher. They had hoped that their formal teacher would go along with them to the Buddha, and by listening to the discourses, he too would come to realize Magga and Phala. But Sanjaya, their master, refused to go with them. So Upatisha and Kolita, with 250 followers, went to the Buddha at Veluvana Monastery. There they were initiated and admitted into the order as a bhikkhu, the monk, venerable monks. Upatisha, as a son of Rupasari, became known as a Sariputta. Kolita, as a son of a Moggallī, became known as a Thera Mahamoggallana. On the seventh day after the initiation, Mahamoggallana attained arhatship. Thera Sariputta achieved the same as fortnight after initiation. On that day, the Buddha made them his two chief disciples. So that's why the Buddha had two chief disciples, the Upatisha and Kolita, who became Sariputta and Moggallana. The two chief disciples then related to the Buddha how they went to the Giragga festival, the meeting with the Thera Assaji, and their attainment of Sotapanna fruition. They also told the Buddha about their formal teacher Sanjaya, who refused to accompany them. Sanjaya had said, "Having been a teacher to so many pupils, for me to become his pupil would be like a jar turning into a drinking cup. Besides, only few people are wise and the majority are foolish. Let the wise go to the wise Gautama, the foolish would still come to me. Go your way, my pupils." And that was the Master Sanjay's word saying that in the world there are more foolish people, and more foolish people will come to me, and those wise people will go to the Buddha. So all the pupils, all the students go to see the Buddha. Thus, as the Buddha pointed out, Sanjay's false pride was preventing him from seeing a truth as truth. He was seeing untruth as untruth, untruth as a truth, and will never arrive at the real truth. At that moment, so the Buddha uttered these two verses saying that they take untruth for truth. they take truth for untruth. Such person can never arrive at the truth, for they hold wrong views. A person who takes truth as truth, a person takes untruth as untruth, such person arrives at the truth, for they hold right view. At the end of the discourse, many people came to the established of Sotapatti fruition. So this is the beautiful story that related to the life of the Venerable Sariputta and Moggallana, that how they wanted to to his teacher, their teacher, to be following the right path so that they could have the uh, found the Buddha and liberate themselves. But unfortunately, they didn't want to go. And this is not just the now, and this is not just in the past, those days, but we still have plenty of people, those who are in these states that thinking that the truth as untruth as a truth, and not understanding the truth as the real truth, and which is main reason of why we are having so much trouble in the world. Uh, the people are so much attached to the untruth as a truth. So it's a very difficult time. In fact, like these days, there are so much violence and so much discrimination coming, and all probably based on not understanding the truth as a real truth, and based on their own perceptions and the understanding and the exaggeration. They are in the state of holding untruth as a truth, and which is the main reason of the trouble. And it's so sad to know that in America, a lot of um, violence action going on towards Asians, migrants, and in America at this time, thinking that because of the COVID-19, which came from Asia, is causing a trouble. And it, as a result of that, so much violence erupting, and which again, compared to the Black Lives Matter, this is also quite a serious matter, but very few people are talking about it. Even the medias are not talking about it that much in that extent when it took place, when there was a Black Matter, Black Lives Matter uh, erupt. It extended even to UK in Europe as well. And there was so many violence going on, and that's all based on untruth, the not understanding the reality, and that's how it's happening. And meanwhile, there are other troubles going on in different places, like and all based on their own prejudice and on their own eager to have a power, and not able to compromise things, and not able to be compassionate towards other beings and other fellow members, thinking that not knowing the truth as the truth, and as a result of that, causing so much violence and troubles going on. That's why there was a writer who was saying that if I think if I'm not wrong, Thich Nhat Hanh and even the Dalai Lama said that if we teach meditation to children from the very early age, eventually in 30, 40 years later, the whole world become much harmony and more peaceful. They will be able to understand the reality and ability to cope with their emotions. And this is what we need so that we can gain the proper and a peace and installing the uh, kind of a democratic, and all the politicians will be following the reality rather than imposing their own views based on what they think is the right, but come to the terms, the real truth. So this is a real the teachings that the Buddha was pointing at, that when we do not know or do not take the truth as not do not take truth as a truth, always brings disasters, and that's most of the time based on our prejudice. So that's a good lesson to learn, and if we are having a good teacher, then we will be finding a right path to find the solution and gaining the happy moments in our life. Okay? So with this, I end here for the streaming on Facebook.